極滅の豪華かける10。
なんという。
You know, in really thinking through on how I was going to talk about this episode of my isekai life, I felt like there was so much that happened this episode. But then when I really got to like thinking of the nitty gritty and really thinking about all the different things that actually occurred, I was like, yo, nothing really happened this episode. Like, there's a lot that happened this episode, but not a lot that happened, right? You have Yuji who went to go save Walter, who then found out that, or no, sorry, you had Yuji who went to go save the priest, right? I don't remember what the hell the guy's name is. You see, forgettable name. You had Yuji go save the priest, who ended up having to fight Walter, right? And Walter ended up being like the big bad or whatever. And essentially, Walter, the premonition or the, how do you say it? The legend of old that the priest had was that his sacrifice, basically him sacrificing his life, would summon the emissary, would summon the sage, which would essentially just be Yuji. But essentially, he had the actual premonition, legend, blah, 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 backwards. And it was the fact that Walter sacrificing himself, as well as all of his followers and people, including that dumbass young kid, would summon the sage. And the sage, this person that he summoned, may very well be like an evil version of the person who saved the world at one point, which could very well be the person who left all their belongings and slimes and books and everything behind for Yuji. That's kind of what I'm guessing at here, because I'm not going to say like I said, but I've said in the past through all my videos so far of my isekai life of the thing that I want to know most is more history about the person who left behind the home, left behind the books, and who was the previous tamer of all these slimes. You know, obviously Yuji has a lot of new ones now, but who was I wanted to know more about that. So this sage person could be like the reincarnation or revitalization or another entity that's supposed to be mimicking that person of the past, of old, right? So essentially, he goes and he defeats this Walter dude. By his sacrifice, he summons this sage guy who's like some weird clone-ish version of some higher entity. He fights this dude in nauseum, right? He fights this dude in nauseum, does Hellfire Demise times 10, Kaioken times 10, you know what I mean? And essentially, this guy ends up using the weather machines. Apparently, Walter had, perfectly placed them in all 5 corners of where this guy was going to be, perfectly, because he knew exactly what was going to happen, right? Anime writing. And he uses that to summon the weather, which is the Dragon's Grace, to essentially, summon down or raid down this purple goo, which really just pisses off all the monsters and basically takes their anger level up to 10 and makes them erratic and crazy. So that's all that happened this episode. So we know, at this point, our boy Yuji, and I don't know how he gets in the hole so often, but he's negative like 70-some thousand MP, right? So he has basically like a little room of like 6 or so thousand MP before he basically passes out. Now, we've seen him before go like negative crazy numbers. So he has more room to give there. So he's going to have to overcome this dude some way, somehow. So that's going to be what ends up happening. But outside of what I just described in a very short way, there's not a lot else to happen this episode. The things that I was hoping to see is I was hoping to finally see Yuji show some emotion. Like, I thought when he saw this, when he saw Walter transform into that dragon-looking thing, you know what I mean? I was hoping to see him start laughing, like, oh, finally, a good enemy is here, blah, blah, blah. He didn't do that, right? And that's not his personality type. It's not his character archetype. So it's to be expected till he doesn't. But I was like, oh, this could be a moment for him to finally show emotion. Then when he uses Proud Wolf and the Slime's armor and stuff, I was like, oh, this could be another moment for him to show emotion. It didn't happen, And then when this guy finally, transitioned into, or when he was summoned into the Sage guy, and then they did the Hellfire Demise and stuff, like, I was expecting some other moment of emotion from Yuji. And although he's worried and he's verbalizing emotion, he's not showing emotion. the thing that I think was the highlight of this episode is, for the most part, the animation, it's pretty low budget anime, but I think that the people who are the artists and animators, I do think that they do have a animator or artist flex muscle, like that they can flex out. Because I think there's certain moments that in like 10 or 30-second intervals where they have like the Sakuga. I think it's very, very good. And it's all hand drawn, which makes it really good too. But for the most part, they use a lot of standstills, a lot of like, big artist pan or like big art pans and stuff like that. But when they actually get you to actually do the, the actual Sakuga stuff, it's really, really good stuff. So I really do enjoy it. But, that's really all that happened this episode. And, overall, it was an enjoyable episode. I felt engaged by the episode. And I feel like there was a lot that happened. But when I actually thought back through the different, plot beats or the different, plot points or the different things that occur, I was like, actually, they should have happened this episode, really. It's like, here's this like two things that happen. Walter transforms, Walter sacrifice, we summon Sage. Priest guy is in awe of everything along the way. That's really all that happened. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments below. I think this was a good episode. I don't think it was mind-blowing, but I think it was a good episode, and I enjoyed watching it. So, let me know what you guys thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one next Monday. Peace out.